So today's video we're going to be talking about iron striking. Do you struggle to strike your golf irons? If you do, these tips in today's videos have just proven to work with students over years and years of coaching. If they do help you, let me know in the comments down below, or you tried some of them, they didn't help you, also let me know, I'll be interested to hear. But today we're going to try and get the iron strike in a position that allows you to have more fun, hit more greens and lower your scores. Some of the main reasons you don't strike your irons properly is because you can't control low point. So what I mean by low point is where the club gets to its lowest point as it starts on the ground, goes up in the air over your head, comes back down, gets to a low point somewhere before, under or ahead of the ball, and then goes back up in the air again for your follow through position. Controlling where that low point falls allows you to control your strike. Most common issue with striking, fats and fins, where low point gets a little bit behind the ball and you start getting these horrible little fins or fat shots going half the distance they should do. This is the most common striking issue, and where the issue often kind of lies for lots of golfers is in your hold. So if I get my grip, the way I hold the club, very weak, meaning I don't see hardly any knuckles on my lead hand, bottom hand, trail hand gets way over on top of the club. So these kind of looks when you get looking down at your hold opposed to seeing a few knuckles on your lead hand and the right hand shooting a bit more thumb and first finger off towards right shoulder, then what we find is people tend to deliver the face a little bit to the right of the path they're swinging on, causing quite high and weaker shots off to the right. So to fix that shot, what we then see is them moving low point before the ball, catching those fats and fins. Think about it, the face is pointing off to the right. You don't want that to happen, so you're then trying to get the club in first with the handle back to get the face pointing straighter. The trouble with that is that's going to generally move low point before the ball for lots of people, unless that ball is lying absolutely perfect, so more on a tee than the ground, you're going to hit fats and fins. So again, same weak grip, going to try and hit a straighter shot here. But what happens is if I have to lean back and in turn at the bottom there to hit that straighter shot, I'm flicking that club forwards with my handle back. Again, like I say, creating that low strike or that low point before the ball. General rule of thumb when you get strong grippers, so people seeing like 4 knuckles on the lead hand and the trail hand like gets under the club this way rather than over the top, where the strong grippers can hit fats and fins, but as a generalized rule their strikes tend to be a little stronger, they control loft better and they do move low point a little bit more ahead of the ball. If you're a slightly weak to a very weak gripper struggling with irons off the deck, this is something I would like you to try and fix first. So lead hand, make sure you're seeing a good 2 to 3 knuckles. Right hand, you want to get that thumb and first finger pointing somewhere up towards your right shoulder. Get rid of those no knuckle grips with the hands all over on top of the club, and make sure when you're doing this you've got the handle up towards lead leg, because the big pitfall with that is I see people gripping it back here, getting the knuckles and what have you, and then as soon as they push it forwards it just goes into a weak position. So get the club up towards lead leg, 2 to 3 knuckles lead hand, right hand trail hand, get the thumb and first finger up towards right shoulder, then see what that does for your strike patterns. Now point number 2, and we referenced it a little bit in point number 1, hanging back. So golfers hitting shots in a style where they stack on lead foot and then try to get back for the ball to hit it, and then you see the duffs pull lefts and cuts to the rights and horrible strikes. Let's try and get some rotation and some movement of pressures onto lead foot to hit that ball to try and push that low point forwards. Great drill to try and do this is one arm swings. So I'm holding with my trail hand, my right hand only, and I'm halfway down the grip. I'm going to put my lead hand behind my club back here, and I'm going to make some swings where I feel I get my body really moving that club that now feels quite heavy in one hand. If I just use my arms or even lean back, I mean, it's just going to fall into the ground here. This is a great way of getting a feeling of your body trying to push up onto that lead side. You can even hit some shots this way to warm up, maybe at the range, those kind of ideas. You will find you're going to have to activate legs, hips, shoulders to get any kind of shots going, because it's not easy. It's hard to hit the ball this way. But what I tend to find with students when they do the one arm swings is they do really start to activate their body so much more and get some pressures going forwards. And low point is mixed because it's hard to do. But when they put both hands on the club after feeling the ideas of getting the body moving, not only do they turn on top of the ball better rather than maybe swaying hips and going this way like they were before, they actually then start trying to really rotate up onto that lead side. So again, you could do a couple of practice swings where you just do the one arm swing, step in with the ball, both hands on, recreate, those feelings, you will find your low point moves forward, your strike improves, getting some of those nice button strikes. Drill number 3 to try and move low point forwards. Again, if you're someone who has a tendency to just want to hang back on it, what I tend to get students to do is set up to their normal ball position, so the back of the ball somewhere near the middle of my stance, and then just move the ball up towards the big toe of your lead foot. But place the club back to its normal position as if the ball was in its normal gaming position. Now from here, the game is, can I reach that ball? Can I get up to it? You can see I've still struck a shot there because it's forced me to move over onto this lead side. It's forced me to reach out forwards more for that ball to try and get that low point lower and ahead of that where my original ball should have been. So between you and me watching this video, everyone who does this drill, it transforms their strike straight away. It doesn't fix always forever because their other tendencies maybe come back, but it's a great way of giving the feeling of striking with the low point forwards because it's such a great kind of leveler. Anyone who fats and thins it, you give them this drill and the first couple of shots, they literally like nobble it along the floor because the idea of just consciously shifting over, rotating, even trying to push club and hands forward is so alien to them because they want to be back flicking forwards that they just can't work it out. But you give them enough tries and don't be afraid to hit a few bad ones at the start, they start finding the ball. You'll be amazed how good golfers are at actually finding the ball when you move it about. So ball off lead, big toe, set up in your ordinary regular positions and then get up for those strikes. You're going to catch some a little thin, but you're gonna find when you put the ball back, if you use those kind of chase ideas, the strike's gonna be much neater. Tip number 4, posture. Don't get yourself out of the striking game before you've even begun. So postures that make it really hard for me to get a consistent strike. Key one here is putting my pelvis under my shoulders. This one kills me for strikes. It encourages rotations with big lifts and drops, and we now start getting a very erratic strike pattern. So there's a lovely top for you there. This is one of the most common postures I see amongst golfers who struggle to strike the ball from the ground, and it just paralyzes them from the beginning. Simple way to check your posture, just stand up nice and straight through your back, through your legs, just flex your knees a tad, just a tiny bit of bounce in them, and then bending forward from the waist, pop the club down, and where it lands, that's where you want the ball to be. What you're going to find that does is it moves your chest over and forward of your pelvis, your hips. This is going to allow for rotations and some angles in your swing to try and retain some levels of strikes and connection with the ball to the ground. Little rule of thumb as well to be worried, just be careful of, I do see some golfers over posture, so get very tense, straight backs, trying to almost overdo this idea. So just be careful that you're not overdoing it. You want to relax straight back, but what you need is you want your upper body forward of your pelvis, which is going to allow you to turn and rotate with some side bends that keep you connected with the floor for strike. Pelvis under shoulders, it's either very weak or very thin and toppy. Really hard to get transferring weight and pressures that way as well. Now before we do the last tip, just remember that you could be a combination of any of these. Like I see plenty of golfers that have the weak grip in stage 1, then they don't get across as well because they're trying to line up the face and they've got that posture. So you could be one of these, or you could be a combination of any of them. If you're a combination of them, you're going to start seeing some really funky movements out on the course, and you're going to really struggle to hit the ball from the ground. And then the last idea, which really helps students, is getting up through lead leg. So even though you want to transfer pressures, you want to be getting pressure onto lead foot, you need to be getting out of that lead foot at the same time, because watch what happens to the club head. So if I hold the club head here, watch what happens to that as I go knee, hip, shoulder, all moving up as I come through. See what it's doing? It's allowing that club to drop down. Bear in mind your hands are unhinging and you've got some forearm rotations. That's going to put that club down and forward more. If you're not someone who's getting out of lead leg and just letting go of those angles, what we tend to see is some crashes. We see that club burying, and people who tend to crash try not to crash on some shots, so you see fats and we see the fins. Just place the club on your lead hip to get the feel of this. So I've got my gloved hand here on my left hip, my lead hip parallel to the ground, face out to the right of me here, and what I'm going to do is just try and feel like I'm popping that club on the ground with my hip turn. It isn't going to come from this movement. So it's not just chucking your weight across. There's an element of that. There's a shift, but as I rotate and get out of lead leg, See how that's putting club on the ground. The other thing as well, if you take out all of these actions that will help you square that face and work that face, if you take them out, you'll see the importance of hip rotation and out of that lead leg. Because if I just slide as that lead leg comes up a little bit, you see the face just doesn't want to get round to the ball. So the more I get my lead hip coming up, shoulder up, knees straightening up and rotating, you can see the face is now pointing, say, 30 degrees right. Well, that's going to come out by this action in your hands, forearm rotations and the club releasing. So moving that low point forwards, crisping up those strikes can definitely come out of the way you're pushing in and out of that ground. Great feelings for getting out of lead leg on the downswing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push my lead foot here, which is pointed out at a slight 20-30 degrees angle out in front of me to the left here. I'm going to feel as I start my downswing that I'm pushing this foot basically this way in the ground. So out towards this launch monitor and in front of it. What that will do is get a reaction from the ground where it almost pushes back at me, which will make that hip jump up. If I'm just thinking 2 dimensions in my weight shift, so just this way, basically this is all just trying to hang on for dear life so you don't do any damage. I'm going to go this way a little bit, but as soon as I've gone on to lead side, I'm then pushing that way. And if I push it a lot, watch what happens to my lead foot. See which way it's jumped? It's come back because I was pushing hard that way, and those strikes are crisp. It's my longest hit, very good strike, and it helps with a bit of speed as well. Using that ground to get up out of that lead side will help throw that club down to the ground in a more inoffensive way with the ground and move that low point. Generally, for lots of golfers forward, it's just counterintuitive. People are hitting fins, don't want to feel like they're getting taller. You're not getting taller, remember, you've got side bends in there as well that are balancing out that this is going up because that's going down. What it will do is help you get low point forwards and crisp those strikes right up. Oh, lovely shot. Let me know in the comments down below, are you 1, 2, 3 or all 5 of these? Are these things you've practiced and had no success with, or things that you've never practiced and you're now going to take to the range? Let me know in the comments as always, and let me know if there's some other subjects you'd like me to tackle. Hopefully that will help some of you crisp up those strikes and hit a few more greens. Thanks for watching.